This video covers fire protection engineering, focusing on sprinkler system layout rules for warehouses, including storage design and hazard mitigation standards. Rule 1 requires sprinklers to be spaced 12 to 15 feet apart to ensure coverage. Rule 2 prohibits return bends in piping for faster water flow. Rule 3 mandates that every structural bay must have a sprinkler to prevent heat blockage by beams. Rule 4 states sprinklers must be within half their spacing from walls, with 5 feet of clearance. Rule 5 addresses ceiling slopes over 10 degrees, requiring a downslope shift. Rule 6 mandates lowering sprinklers below deep ceiling obstructions. Rule 7 limits obstructions to 55 square feet, while Rule 8 restricts them to 40 square feet for extended coverage sprinklers. Rule 9 requires supplemental heads under large solid objects, like HVAC ducts, to prevent shadowed areas. Rule 10 notes that objects under 0.75 inches are not obstructions. Rule 11 requires narrow objects, 0.75 to 1.25 inches, to be moved 18 inches away. Rule 12 specifies that mid-sized objects, 1.25 to 2 inches wide, need even greater distance. Rule 13 requires relocating sprinklers away from medium objects, 2 to 12 inches wide, if centered underneath. Rule 14 focuses on large objects, 12 to 24 inches wide, requiring sprinklers to be shifted away from the center line. Rule 15 mandates separate sprinklers underneath flat obstructions, wider than 2 feet. Rule 16 requires extra heads for non-flat obstructions, such as trusses, between 2 and 10 feet wide. Rule 17 mandates doubling supplemental sprinklers for open grading. Rule 18 specifies in-rack sprinklers when rack legs or shelves block the ceiling spray. Rule 19 requires at least 36 inches of clearance between ESFR sprinklers and storage. Rule 20 mandates in-rack sprinklers for storage racks taller than 25 feet. Rule 21 requires using CMSA design tapes, like DS 8 to 9, for water flow calculations. Rule 22 specifies high temperature heads and high water density for plastic commodities. Rule 23 allows empty wood pallets under ESFR limits. Rule 24 treats plastic pallets as a higher hazard due to melt risk, requiring extra water capacity. Rule 25 requires 18-inch transverse flue spaces for unexpanded plastic storage. Rule 26 mandates K25.2 ESFR sprinklers for aerosol storage due to the risk of explosions. Rule 27 prohibits sidewall sprinklers for tires, requiring ceiling-only ESFR protection. Rule 28 requires horizontal barriers at 10 feet for large paper rolls. Rule 29 recommends a deluge system with 0.25 GPM per square foot for baled cotton. Rule 30 specifies K25.2 ESFR sprinklers for buildings over 30 feet high. Rule 31 allows ceiling-only protection for Class 1 storage below 15 feet. Rule 32 mandates in-rack sprinklers for racks with more than 5 tiers. Rule 33 clarifies that double-row racks must follow the same design standards as single-row racks. Rule 34 requires a minimum transverse flue space for aisles less than 8 feet wide. Rule 35 specifies a minimum 48-inch width for longitudinal flue spaces in back-to-back racks. Rule 36 mandates smoke vents be at least 50 feet away from sprinkler heads. Rule 37 prohibits the use of draft curtains in storage areas. Rule 38 requires vertical adjustments to sprinklers for roof slopes greater than 412. Rule 39 and 40 detail the need for additional sprinklers near ridge vents based on their width. Rule 42 requires supplemental sprinklers both above and below false ceilings. Rule 43 addresses obstructed ceilings, requiring precise placement of sprinkler heads. Rules 44 and 45 relate to deflector position and required sprinkler drops based on roof slope. Rule 46 requires all rack storage piping to be a minimum of Schedule 40. Rule 47 mandates branch line supports every 12 feet. Rules 48 and 49 cover enhanced seismic bracing and the maximum spacing for in-rack trapeze supports. Rule 50 requires a minimum 2-inch rise for arm-over connections to prevent debris buildup. Rule 51 prohibits grid systems over high-piled storage, mandating a quote tree system. Rules 52 and 53 cover the use of dry and antifreeze sprinkler systems. Rule 54 mandates double interlock pre-action systems for rack storage. Rule 55 specifies deluge systems for storage involving expanded plastics. Rule 56 requires hydraulic calculations to be based on the most demanding rack array. Rule 57 requires hose stations providing at least 100 GPM at storage entrances. Rule 58 specifies dedicated fire department connections for storage areas. Rules 59 and 60 cover flow switch zoning and forward flow testing at the highest elevation. Rule 61 requires a minimum 24-inch clearance under racks. Rule 62 prohibits the use of flue blockers in rack storage areas. Rules 63 and 64 relate to treating encapsulated storage as a higher hazard and managing storage orientation. Rule 65 requires bin shelving to be perforated for water passage. Rule 66 specifies that mezzanine storage areas must have sprinklers both above and below. Rule 67 mandates in-rack sprinklers for cantilever racks. Rule 68 mandates continuous vertical flue spaces for drive-in racks. Rule 69 specifies an adjusted design density for pushback racks. Rule 70 requires flow-through racks to include conveyor sprinkler protection. Rule 71 states that cable trays over storage must be non-combustible. Rule 72 mandates protection for conveyor belts by sidewall or ceiling sprinklers. Rule 73 requires lighting fixtures in storage areas to be recessed or flush-mounted. Rule 74 specifies that skylights over storage must be non-combustible. Rule 75 states that HVAC ducts must not obstruct sprinkler discharge. Rule 76 allows for smoke detection to supplement fire protection in rack storage. Rule 77 mandates heat vents utilize high-temperature fusible links. Rule 78 requires fire doors to separate different storage hazards. Rule 79 states that high-hazard storage requires fire-rated enclosures. Rule 80 mandates floors support the combined load of storage and water. Rule 81 requires flexible couplings at expansion joints. Rule 82 specifies corrosion protection, and Rule 83 limits piping to factory-coated only. Rule 84 mandates routine maintenance inspections for rack systems. Rule 85 states design density must be taken from DS8 to 9 tables, matched to the commodity. Rule 86 specifies the remote area for hydraulic calculations must be 2,000 to 4,000 square feet. Rule 87 requires a minimum 2-hour water supply duration for ESFR systems protecting plastics. Rule 88 mandates 8 to 12 feet horizontal spacing for in-rack sprinklers. Rule 89 specifies vertical positioning should be 9 inches below the shelf. Rule 90 requires horizontal barriers at every other level in some racks to limit vertical fire spread. Rule 91 limits perforations in barriers to less than 25% open area. Rule 92 requires solid end caps on flue tunnels. Rule 93 mandates post-indicator valves at the storage perimeter for quick isolation. Rule 94 requires oversized drains for rack zones. Rule 95 mandates remote reed gauges at rack risers. Rule 96 specifies using orifices at in-rack ends for flow balancing. Rule 97 requires low-temperature supervision in unheated racks. Rule 98 mandates full hydraulic verification during commissioning. Rule 99 requires maintaining records, including as-built drawings updated with storage changes. Rule 100 emphasizes the need for regular updates and reviews of the fire protection design based on industry standards revisions, such as addressing new risks like lithium-ion battery storage. Free resources are available to help you design systems that never fail. You can download the Master Engineering Package, including pipe schedule charts, pressure calculators, and a standards list.